part of mental health really is about framing your head, wrapping your head around a mindset. And I think you guys you've all touched the whole mindset thing before, right? This has been really popular. And I'm coming at it from a slightly different angle because obviously I'm coming from it more on the health education aspect. But we have three different things, and these are really tools for us to examine our perspective and our attitude in life and how this really can cloud our judgment and cloud or interfere with our relationship with things, because it's like wearing glasses where we start to have a hard time seeing. So we're going to discuss the concept of fact or fiction, that negative perception and automatic negative thoughts. And you're so lucky, I forgot to post one of my favorite song clips. I think I might do it. Yeah, I think I will. But I won't sing, I promise. That's just a tragedy, honestly. I mean, my daughter constantly, if I start to sing, she's like, shut up. All right, let me make room here, my friends. Okay, I want you to think about the interesting thing is, part of being human is, what distinguishes us from animals is from what we can perceive, we have not only emotions, and we do know that animals have very strong connections, that they create family units. We know that, like cows and pigs are traumatized when their babies are taken away because they have this very strong family concept. We know that elephants have a very powerful hierarchy, that the female elephants band together and protect the young ones, and the aunties and the mother all share in the parenting of the baby elephants. So we know animals have this extraordinary experience. And I think that, it's not necessarily the emotion we experience, but they do have their own version of emotions. We know that dogs can have anxiety. The dogs can experience depression. So we know that there is a range, but what we don't know is things like, do they create stress like we do? But humans go another level, which is we have storytelling, and we have the ability to create drama. And the drama is kind of like a weed that flourishes on the smallest piece of fertilizer. And notice I chose fertilizer and not soil. So I want you guys to really pause and think for a moment about an event in life that really was upsetting. And maybe it was something that just really pissed you off. Maybe it was something that scared you. Maybe it's something that really hurt you, or you just really felt maybe attacked or abandoned, disregarded. I want you to think about an event. All right. And I'll give you my own personal story because I got a lot of them. And we do. And this is, there are on occasion the rare individuals who are very black and white, they're thinking, and it's just, they're more, they're less descript, and it's just a fact, and this is what happened. But I will tell you, as being humans, part of that is our coping mechanism, which means they too had a what happened experience. They've just learned their coping mechanism is to strip emotion away from those events to help them work through it. So take a moment, think about an event, all right? And then what I'd appreciate is if you guys have a piece of paper and a pen to draw the triangle, and what you're going to do is in the inside the triangle, just write very simply, lost in airport, or whatever that event is. Boyfriend broke up with me. Whatever you want. Oh, hi, Carissa. Sorry, I didn't realize you were there. Okay, for my friends Carissa, Brian, and Jackie, I don't have no judgment on this. I don't have screens, so I'm having to operate off of Bernice and Elizabeth to cue me when done. All right. So first of all, when you guys are done with my black screens, if you could just give me like a thumbs up or something so that I know you're ready, that would be helpful. Or a smiley face, or I don't know, something. Okay, got it. 2 down. And I don't know where my chat box went. It's always a mystery. It disappears. Okay, Bernice, awesome. Thank you. All right, still going, my other 2 friends? Brian, okay, got it. And who, I'm sorry, I forgot already. Who was left, Jackie or Carissa? Oh my gosh. Okay, no worries then, Carissa. Just, you scare me that you're driving and chatting in the text box. Okay, that's cool. No judgment. Don't want to know. No worries. So just listen, Carissa, no worries. You can visualize it in your head. All right, now I want you to write down what the feelings are around that event. Angry, sad, frustrated, lonely. The feelings are your emotions. I think I got a little sunburn in the walking today. I look strangely red. Thank you, Bernice. Bryant, got it. Okay, excellent. And Jackie, how are you doing? Okay, thank you. All right, now I want you to write down, and this is no sentences, right? These are like bullet points. Your thoughts. Like, I was abandoned. I was dumped. I was forgotten. I was deceived. Did you guys get that this isn't supposed to be necessarily like a super happy thing? This is supposed to be an unhappy thing. Okay, got it. Bernice, thank you. Bryant, thank you. Elizabeth, got it. Jackie, do you have a long list of thoughts there? Got it. Okay. You might, All right. Now I want you to write what the actions were. And the actions were, maybe it's something like I screamed, I yelled, I slammed the door, I left, I ran away, I broke the dish, whatever that was, whatever your action was. I'll never forget, I was a kid once and I was so angry at my mother. I went and ironed all the laundry for the whole house. Literally took me until I think it was like 5 or 6 in the morning. So that actually would have been ironing. Okay, Jackie, thank you. Oh, yes. Oh, Costco has low sodium soy sauce. Yay. Okay, excellent, you guys. All right, so here's my question. Is anyone willing to share with us what it is? Okay, well, Elizabeth's expression is looking like a no. I don't want anyone to know. All right, Jackie, Brian, or Bernice, either of you interested?
I can share.
Okay, good. Go for it.
So it was a couple weeks ago. It's we produce events for ASI, so like on the ASI programming team, and everything that we produce is virtually.
Mhm.
So sometimes there's technical hiccups that we can't control, but that like not being able to produce the event that I had been working on so hard for like the past 5 months was something that really sucked. And so some feelings were frustration and angry. And my thoughts was this sucks and unnecessary stress put on me. And so the actions, I called my advisor and I was telling her, oh, this sucks. We couldn't get it online and really sad. So that was kind of my little triangle.
Girlfriend, you are so gentle. That's fabulous. My stories are ones of like abandonment, being left behind in foreign countries. All right, good. Now, yours really was gentle and good on you. Here's the key is to get. The bottom line is, Bernice, is you told us a wonderful story of all of this emotion and drama that happened. So now the question is again, what happened? But this time I want you to tell me just the facts. What happened? Just the facts.
My event didn't get produced.
It didn't go live. That's it.
Yes,
That's it, right? Okay. Are you guys starting to figure out what I'm pointing at? We tend to start to take on the story of an event that we're upset about like a giant overcoat. And it starts to influence our communication. You called the counselor upset. You were really angry. This has a lot to do, my friends, with resilience and the ability to move beyond things, especially when they don't go our way. So part of that kind of self mechanism of protecting ourselves and justifying our disappointment and our embarrassment is to create this cloud of a story and just whip it up and get it bigger and bigger, because it's like this big fluffy event that protects us from any sorry, I'm losing my train of thought because my dog is really cute right now. Any judgment by other people. It protects us from the idea that we failed. Berenice, did you feel like there was a sense of failure? Okay.
Yes.
But you know, the key is, you guys, is that this is what we do, is we create a lot of drama around things rather than just saying, didn't work out. What can I do next time? Okay. So calling the counsel, you know, well, you wouldn't necessarily call the counselor, but to call maybe a technical person and say, hey, this didn't happen. What can I know for next time? Or the people didn't show up. What can I do for next time to ensure? We want to really start to take the emotion out where it's not needed, because when we do that, it's like cleaning the garbage out of the garden to allow the things that we want to grow to really be able to grow. All right. So I'm not kidding when I say is that I was traveling out of the country once, and I'm full sharing here. And there was a snowstorm, and I'm a grown adult. Okay. Like, I don't know. I think I was 31 or 2 at this point. And I was flying from Boston. My mother was coming from Chicago, and I get to Florida and my mother flight's delayed. And I'm like, okay. And I'm pacing the airport back and forth. Can't find my mom. Her flight's not coming in. And I'm winding myself up, and I'm starting to freak out. And I'm going to the staff, and I'm like, my mother's supposed to be on this plane. I don't know what's going on. And they're like, okay, let me look it up. And they're trying to help me. And I'm literally, they keep changing the arrival gate for her flight down in Miami. And I'm running back and forth on this, the airport, trying to find out where the plane's coming in. And it finally gets to the end, and they're announcing the final call for my plane. And so I run back, and I'm just standing there, and I'm like, I don't want to get on the plane. And they're like, you need to get on the plane now. And I get on the plane, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. And I sit down, and I just burst into tears. And I've got such a story going that I'm going to a foreign country because number one, my mother had all the reservation information. Number two, my mother was the one with all the money. I had my passport and I had me and my luggage, and that was it. I had nothing else. And we were, oh my God, we were going to Bailey's, and this was, oh my gosh, I don't know, the 90s. So it was a little bit of a different game plan than now. Bailey's has become much more commercial. But I created this phenomenal story, freaking out, you know, crying in my seat, visualizing being stuck in a foreign country. I mean, just phenomenal, right? So I was scared. I felt, even though it wasn't necessarily like she had caused it, but I felt abandoned, you know, in a foreign country, even though I was still in the United States. And my actions were literally this panic, that constant pacing back and forth rather than sitting down and being strategic. So in the course of that whole story, coincidentally, apparently my mother's flight had landed, and somehow my people at my gate communicated with her gate and rushed her on, and the plane was pulling out and came back to the gate and picked her up and then took off. I mean, these people were rock stars, okay? But when she came down the plane, of course, now I'm crying even more because it's like, oh, but it was this story I created, this phenomenal amount of stress and fear that was completely unnecessary. All right. So it was the drama that I created rather than looking at the situation and going, okay, what do I need to do next? All right. And we tend to do this a lot. But like I said, you know, it's like you go in and you apply for the job and you don't get a job, or you go into coworkers and you know, look over and you see them go, and that, you know, and you start to think that they're talking about you. And even if they are not. The bottom line is they're talking, and you're either creating a story or going about your business. So I want you to think about this, that whenever you get angry or frustrated or emotional, whether it be your parents, because those come into play a lot, or it be partners or coworkers or whatever it is, I want you to really slow down and ask yourself, what are the facts? Really, just the facts. What are the facts here? I didn't get a raise. That's a fact. Okay. So then rather than creating the story, the conversation is to go to your manager and say, help me understand. What do I need to understand about this raise? Okay. I apologize, Elizabeth. I missed your chat. If it's a reoccurring event, you just try different things each time. Elizabeth, that's really open-ended for me to answer. Can you give me any type of example? You mean reoccurring for your own emotional response, like you're stuck in a broken record, just going over and over again?
Yeah, so if it's kind of like a constant situation,
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of an example. Um, Maybe with the same people, and
Mm-hmm.
then you try to like change something, but it keeps on happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how would you fix that?
Mm-hmm. The reality is we never can control other people, right? The only thing we can control is our response to other people. So it's interesting you bring this up, Elizabeth, because this comes up a lot with family. All right. So for example, my mother tends to be controlling. All right. My mother tends to be very negative and condescending. And I tend to be the butt of her jokes. I mean, it's like every time she gets together with people, she just, ha, 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 Julie does this, ha, ha. And it's just kind of like, this is awkward. So in a situation like that, I used to create all this drama about how my mother can't stand me, and that, I have no purpose in her life, and that other than for her to kind of be, I call it the doormat, to her to wipe her shoes on. But the reality is I can't change my mother. I've talked to her about the fact that, my feelings are hurt when you do this, that I don't like what you're doing. It leaves me feeling uncomfortable in this situation. And the reality is I'm the one who leaves myself uncomfortable in the situation, because it's really her drama. It's her story about me. It's not my story. None of it is. So now when you start to separate what that repetitive routine is, the more you separate yourself from it, the more it starts to look like a foreign object, like, ew, that's your drama. And you've taken the emotion out and you don't feel the emotion anymore. You don't feel the drama about it. So Elizabeth, when things are repetitive, you've got to start to separate yourself from it and look at it as being their routine, their drama, their story, and not yours. We adopt other people's stories, folks. Okay. Think about it as like if you were to grow up in a household where you had a family member who was afraid of dogs, and then you grow up afraid of dogs. You didn't necessarily have a reason to have fear. I mean, if the dog bit you, the dog bit you. That is a fact. There's no reason to fear dogs in general. If it's a particular dog, then okay, I get it. You've had a bad experience with that dog and you don't know how that dog will be with you again. Elizabeth, no disrespect to your doggies. I'm dealing with my husky because I get this all the time. I walk my dog and my dog, I love him dearly, but he's a doofus. You want to rob the house? Make sure he's home. But when I go out and I walk him, I get people who will say things about him. You know, you should keep that dog locked up. And it's like, what? You know, they'll like cross the street and literally walk in the middle of the street with their dogs because they think, you know, and they'll be like, well, your dog will eat my dog. What? But I could take that personal, but instead what we want to do is just look at it as like, whoa, that's your story. Which makes me think you're a little crazy, but that's your story. And it is harder, folks, to separate ourselves from family members because they know that we have these lovely red buttons that are for pushing. They know the things that trigger us. And this is where you start to disable that trigger, right? This is why I said you guys want to start developing the list of things that trigger you, because the more you start to disable it, then you're not triggered by people, their words, their actions. You just look at it like it's a fact, nothing more. It's like when you guys see an ant walk down the sidewalk, do you go, oh, the world is falling apart? Or do you just look at it like, yeah, ant, and that's it? Well, that's where we want to get to these things, is that we look at them, and it's not being cold, folks. It's not being calculating. It's just looking at something for what it is. And this is my concern about where we're at in our society, is we have a heck of a lot of people running around creating stories. And it is prevalent and out of control. And it worries me because the further we live in a story, the more paranoia has the ability to take over. And when that happens, then we strike out at everyone because there is no conscious effort anymore. It becomes hardcore impulse. And that can be dangerous. Where are you guys at with this? What does this mean for all of you? Does this make sense? Does it seem foreign? Does it help? Does it confuse you more? Got to let me know what's going on. Hi, Carissa.
Hi, I'm home safe. I was just getting started on, like, I was not actively driving when I was chatting in there, by the way. I'm sorry. But I was just going to say that I definitely have a lot of relation kind of to the story that you shared with my parents. And I think kind of what the last student had asked, I didn't catch her name when I was, when she was talking, when she was asking about if it's like a reoccurring stressor, like a person in your life.
Oh, Elizabeth.
Yeah. And I think that it's like, it really does help to separate yourself from the situation and kind of look at what is causing that person to do those things. Like it as a whole, kind of, it almost is like you have to be a little bit selfless in your analysis of like your mom, because you can make it all about you. And then you're like, well, why is she doing this to me? Why does she think this about me? But it's really, a lot of times I feel like something that they aren't dealing with that happened to them, and they're making it all about them. And it's not even about you, how they're expressing their feelings towards you. And I think kind of if you can't really change them, at least what I found in my life with some people is that I just have to distance myself from them. If it's the case that I don't feel like I'll be able to be in control of separating myself from the situation.
Yeah, you're very correct, you guys. I don't ever want, it's kind of funny because I had literally, when my daughter was little in third grade, she had a best friend that she had grown up with since preschool. And this friend decided she'd had enough of my daughter and decided she wasn't going to be friends, and literally just like, boom. And her mom supported her in it. And I was kind of disappointed because they had such a long history. I think they really should have learned to work through it at that age with our support as parents. But sometimes we do need to separate ourselves until we can find our balance. But we need to be clear and complete. There's a difference, folks, between separating yourself to gather yourself and figure out how to handle things versus running away. All right, Krissa? We got to be cautious of those two distinctions.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a balance to be had. I guess for me, I think about my parents, they aren't very, like they don't really put much work into their mental and emotional well-being. And so they have a lot of stress and anxiety, and they tend to kind of use me as their therapist. And so that's more of why I have to keep my distance, is because they are really poor with acknowledging boundaries. And so I think it's kind of like what you said, how you kind of try and change your mom. But mine is even more so like mom, like I'd really like to talk about something else. Like, can we talk about something else? And then it doesn't really get changed. So that's kind of why I keep my distance with them. But I can definitely see with other people, even like friends, like it's really important with those relationships to nurture it as much as you can. And then I guess my thinking is if you've nurtured it as much as you can and it's toxic, then that's when the boundaries need to be set.
Yeah. And sometimes it's a situation where the other person needs to grow or find their balance, and maybe you can reconcile later. We take that one step at a time for sure. But yeah, that's all a really great point. And it is complicated, folks. I'm not denying the fact that it's complicated in family, just like it's complicated when you're in a marriage or a relationship where you're invested in someone, or even a business partnership where you've invested in that company. As you put, boundaries have to be established. You have to have agreements, not just with the other person on whatever the circumstances are, but you have to have an agreement with yourself of, number one, what is acceptable, and number two, what are you doing about yourself to manage the situation? Okay. But first and foremost, we really do want to keep making those distinctions. Krissa, there is a point where you're going to be able to keep separating. That's their story and their game plan, and you will be able to be around them. And when they do, whether that emotional dump or anything else, you're going to look at it as like you're just kind of riding a horse going through the motions and not necessarily connected to it. And that's just part of that, is that growing process, folks. And this is something we do need to do. And like I said, some people are better at this. Some people are more, factual, and they just look at things. I love people with Asperger's. They tend to be very, this is what it is. And they're such a pleasure because they see things very black and white without the drama. The drama just doesn't fit into their world. But then for some of us, some people tend to be more emotional. So it's not that we're all in the same category. We have different spectrums in our interaction of life, but we just want to be present to the facts. And once we are able to more successfully identify facts, we're more successful at moving on, figuring out how to overcome situations that didn't work for us, how to learn from them, how to really grow individually, to evolve and to progress. Does anyone else have anything that you'd like to share, please? I think you guys are brave when you're willing to share, and I'm not judging that if you choose not to, but I do acknowledge when you do choose to, because I know it's awkward if you don't have a relationship with people, but then it's even more awkward when you do. Okay. All right. We're going to move on to the second one, folks. And this really oops, wrong way. This really has to do with perspective. This is, I want you, you got to think about it in terms of what comes out of your mouth and then what comes out of other people's mouths. Now you've got two ends of the spectrum. You've got the eternal optimist, the person who is constantly, life is wonderful, isn't it fantastic? That crack in the wall is so beautiful. I mean, you've got some people who are just, wow. And then you have somebody who is just, life sucks. They're all out to get me. Why am I alive? This is pointless. I'm going to cross the street. You know, I'm going to get hit, or I'm going to get cancer, or I'll have a heart attack. I mean, it's like we got the gamut, and some of us are somewhere in that range. But what we really want to acknowledge is that whoever we are, what we speak, what we say in our language, the choice of words that we use, we speak into existence. Okay, do you guys get this? Speak into existence means you create your reality based off of the language you use. So for example, if I were to say, and I get this a lot, by the way, in the weight loss industry, that's why I'm really plugged into this, because I can hear it like a gong going off. When someone says, so did you work out, you know, over the past week? Yeah, I just did 3 days. Okay. Got it. You just did 3 days. All right. That's option A. Now option B. Hey, did you work out this week? Yeah, I worked out 3 days. Do you guys hear the difference? Just limits it. It now is saying it's not enough. I didn't do enough. And the moment we say it's not, I understand the idea that we want to do more, but I'll show you how it distinguishes, but just limits ourselves and actually keeps us rooted in the past, in the world of failure. So there's a difference between saying I just worked out 3 days versus, yeah, I worked out 3 days and next week I want to work out 4 days, versus I just worked out 3 days, but next week I'll work out 4. It's, even though you can start thinking ahead of what you're going to do, you've still negated your actions. And that verbal negation, folks, starts to erode at our self-confidence. And when we start to erode our self-confidence, our comfort and ability to go out and do things independently on our own, then that starts to erode our self-esteem. And some people are just really powerful and amazing in self-esteem. And then a lot of us have lots of opportunity to keep growing it. So another one is only. Did anyone show up at the party? I was the only one. It sounds so lonely. But I was the person who was at the party. You know, there's a difference in the ownership in your relationship with the event. The other one is but. I went to the beach, but it was rainy out. I mean, you know, the beach can be really exciting in the rain if you take the time, but the but brings an end to it. So I was at the beach, but it was raining, versus I was at the beach and it was raining. One creates an experience and opportunity. One brings things to a stop. So I'm not sure if you guys are able to perceive the difference right now, but definitely as you start to hear people use these 3 words, I just, I only, but, you'll start to hear that it really ends things. It closes them rather than opening them up for more possibility, more growth to happen. So I encourage you to start listening to your own choice of words and to listen to the choice of words of others. And it will drive you a little crazy, by the way, as you become more sensitive to it. But it's powerful to make those distinctions, because really our journey is about getting how amazing and powerful we are, rather than really reducing ourselves. Does anyone have any feedback on this one? Any experience on this, on these 3? No, so these are all new concepts, new experience.
The first one you mentioned of the just like the workouts, when I'm guilty of that. I was like, oh, I just worked out for on Monday and Wednesday, or I just did that. But in reality, it's like, well, at least I worked out. Like at least I got in 2 days of working out, and then next week there's always room for improvement. So I think that really did resonate with me.
Bernice, that's really awesome. And it's not even the at least, it's just girlfriend, own it. I worked out 2 days this week, just own it. Because the moment you at least, you're putting a cap on it, you're containing it. And you guys want to learn that statements are about, they're like exclamations at the end. So if you work on a group project and someone says, well, what did you get done? I completed all of chapter 2. Versus, well, at least I got chapter 2 done. I mean, if you say to a group, at least I got chapter 2 done, we're going to be like, well, what are you passing judgment on me that I didn't, or you didn't do enough? Okay. It opens you up, honestly, to the idea that what you've accomplished is less, rather than making it a profound statement of this is what I did. So I completed chapter 2. I worked out this week, 2 days. All right. Every time we own something, we create the possibility of owning even more. And that again is integrating into that mental health aspect, that confidence and that self-esteem. So now we've looked at 2 things. We've looked at one, which is taking the story out of things so that it becomes just facts. So I went to the club and I was going to work out and it was so terrible. I mean, there were people all over the place and there was sweat all over the machines and it was so disgusting and smelly and I just wanted to vomit and I had to get out of there right away. Versus I went to the club and I wasn't feeling it. I left. See, one creates the possibility of going back in the future. The other one now is really turning you against the idea of going back to the club. It just kills the experience. So I went to the club and I just worked out for an hour versus I went to the club and I worked out for an hour. It, again, 2 different relationships. All right. It was very interesting. Someone asked me on Tuesday also about intonation and how we express ourselves. Lilts going up versus down. And they do, on a whole nother level, alter our relationship with other people because you'll find that, it's kind of like, do you have any friends who have a Southern drawl? Hi, y'all. What's going on today? It's a foreign sound, or I love listening to Italians. Buongiorno. You hear this rhythm and, it's kind of musical and exciting and it really is attractive. But when you talk to someone who's like, yeah, I went to the store and this is what I did. I mean, are you sleeping yet? So it does influence our relationship with the person, but that is different from the conversation here. I just thought it was cute that he brought that up. All right, the last one, folks, are ants. Okay, and those are automatic negative thoughts. And this is where we have the ability sometimes it has to do again with those glasses that we put on and how we perceive experiences in life. All right. So I'm going to throw these out there and I'm going to explain them a little bit. And I have to use my book because it's so similar that you've got to kind of find the distinctions between these. But I want you to think about if you practice any of these or if you've heard other people do them, and think about what that means. What possibility does it create? What mood does it create? Because that's how we're painting our lives and our experiences with life. So I love the fortune telling. I'm guilty of this. All right. And this would be where we already know the future. We're a know-it-all. And it tends to be very negative. So for example, if let's say, I love hanging out my dirty underwear. Not really, but let's say, for example, oh God, I know this is a good one because it's actually coming up. All right. My daughter has this wonderful history of every time it's my birthday, she has in the past had a meltdown where I don't know what's going on, but she ends up just going crazy. So guess what's coming up? My birthday. And my fortune telling me is going to be that I'm guilty of this. Oh my God. I'm on the phone with my mother the other day and I said, she's like, what do you want to do for your birthday? And I said, oh yeah, I can't wait for my birthday because we know Sarah Michelle is going to do her same old, same old. She's going to freak out. She's going to scream and she's going to yell. And my birthday's going to suck again for the 10th year in a row. Thank you very much. So, you know, Mom, let's just skip the birthday. See, that is the fortune telling. I'm living where? Out of the past, right? And I can tell you what the future is going to be. Now, the problem with this is now this is basically, I've killed my birthday, right? Because my attitude already sucks. And not only that, but it's like slamming a door on my daughter because now my attitude is you're always going to be this way on my birthday. You suck. So now I've got this super negative attitude towards her. That's fortune telling, is when we always already know what the future is going to bring. And when we all, and by the way, folks, yes, we can predict events, but nothing is ever 100% guaranteed. Okay. You can predict that if you run out into the street, you're going to get ran over. I'm sure your mama or father at some point told you, you don't run out into the street, you'll get ran over. And I'm sure at some point as a kid, you ran out into the street to prove them wrong. And I think you survived. But, you know, so it's not, there's nothing in life that is absolutely guaranteed. The only thing hands down guaranteed is death. We all come to an end at some point, and that's okay, because then that opens the whole question of depending on what you think of as death. There could be a cycle, you're reborn again, you could go back to the earth, the trees, you could go to different levels of heaven, whatever that means for you. So it just, what we are guaranteed is that our body will be done. All right. All right, let's see, labeling. Anyone want to take a guess of what labeling is? Labeling, just like a label. What do you think? Labeling. We have this in our society. This is another one that really breaks my heart that's going on right now. There's a lot of labeling of people. This is where we get things like discrimination and violence. Okay. It's like the generalization of human beings. We label people. All people are this. That's a label. You're lazy. That's a label. That political party is out to get us all. That's labeling. Okay. When we make statements that are absolute, there is no alternative story or possibility or fact. It is what it is. And that again, that kills possibility. Life is forever about possibility. It could possibly rain. It could be possibly sunny. The odds are higher for sunny. Yesterday, the odds were higher for rain. But when we label things, we bring them to an end. There is no possibility beyond that. So you want to think about labeling, you know, for yourself. What kind of student are you? Have you labeled yourself? Some people label themselves as, I am an A student. Okay. And you use that to drive you, and that's great. But my question is if things don't work out so hot, how do you manage that situation then? Versus I'm really passionate in my studies and I'm working really hard. I want to learn as much as possible. Now that creates a lot of possibility. You guys starting to get a little bit as to why with your mission statements I went through and I was tweaking them with you guys, because not to allow yourself to be limited by your mission statement, but to give your mission statement a lot of strength and support for you to build off of, okay? So labeling is when we make a statement that becomes automatic and always. All right. What about, did anyone have a comment? Okay. What about the all or nothing thinking? What do you guys think that is? If I don't get an A, then it's pointless. Why do I even bother? Or, you know what? I better get into that class at the gym, or what's the point? I'm just not going to work out, because that was the whole point of going to the gym. No, I think the point of the gym was to work out, period. But it becomes that all or nothing attitude, okay? So think about, do you have experiences in life where you're fortune telling, you're labeling, you're doing an all or nothing thinking? I love the all or nothing because that's a little bit of the 2-year-old in us. I want it now. It's the, well, if the game's not the way I want, then I'm going to pick up my ball and bat and go home. All right. What about emotional reasoning? This one gets a little bit more personal. Emotional reasoning would be something like, I feel really guilty that happened. It's all my fault. God, I must be a bad person. I'm a hurtful person. I'm a cruel person. I'm a cold person. I don't care about other people. We reason our way. We justify somehow what has happened, and we take ownership of it to set ourselves back, to negate ourselves. All right. Discounting the positive. That is where we come in with the words like but, just, only. Rather than focusing on the positive, we're negating it. Okay. Blame is a distraction, my friends. That's when we blame others so that we don't have to take responsibility for ourselves or have integrity in what we've done. So it's kind of like, if you go into the kitchen and it's the true moment in life. The dog's looking and blinking at the front door. Is it a robber or my husband? Or both?
He's doing that whole Burt Reynolds pose.
Oh my God, to be a husky, what an experience. All right, blame. So, if rather than us taking responsibility, it's, every time I come home and I get in the car to go somewhere else, you've used up all the gas. Well, is it true the person used the gas when they were going somewhere? Yeah. But the personal responsibility is to say, hey, when you take the car out today, will you please make sure that there's enough gas for me to go X place next? That's communication, folks. Does the blame solve the problem? No. But what does the blame do? It makes you right and the other person wrong. So now what we're doing is building ourselves up on the ashes of other people. All right. What about mind reading? I know exactly what they're going to say. I know what they're going to do. They can't stand anything I do. What's the point? Why do I bother? Okay, well, you know what? Maybe they don't like what you do. What difference does it make? You still got to do what you're going to do. And if it's something where there's conflict, then that needs communication. But reading other people's minds, this comes up a lot also. And this is another concern of mine in society, is that people are starting to assume. And what does assume do? It makes up out of you and me. We automatically know what other people are thinking or feeling. And I really, you know, it's interesting because in, Chrissy, you would come across on this. In our 410 class, we talk about the isms. We had a conversation about sexism, ableism, racism, and oh gosh, what was the other one? Classism. And I forgot to add ageism, unfortunately. But the reality is I started meditating on this a lot because a lot of the students had a lot of concerns and issues about classism and anger towards people of upper class. And it was very intriguing because I've been spending a lot of time meditating on this and thinking about it. And that, of course, took me down the journey of thinking about perspective other people in other countries have of us and their generalizations about us. And I started thinking about it. And the reality is we never walk in anyone else's shoes. We do not know what the life experience is for someone else. We really have no idea. When people say all policemen are bad, do we really know what it's like to be a police officer, where people go around and shoot you in the back of the head because you wear a uniform, despite the fact that you have saved people's lives, that you have a family at home, that you're trying to make a difference in your community? On the other hand, do we have a person who goes and buys cigarettes and they're standing there and they get accused of something and now they get hauled away to jail? It's the sad part is that we are starting to get into this game plan where we are labeling other people. We're mind reading because we think we know it all. We're over generalizing about people. And this is breaking down and deconstructing our society. I don't know about you guys, but this is why I want us to really become present to the ants in our society and how we're using them as tools to strip away people's individuality and deconstruct our society. It makes me sad. All right, magnification. We blow things out of proportion. So rather than, you know, someone bumps into you, but all of a sudden it's now, you hit me. I've seen people do that. And I'm just like, whoa, that's awkward. Okay, got it. All right. Another one, should statements. I like to say, this reminds me of the TV show Sex and the City. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. And the should statements really actually wear down on our own self-confidence, because instead of owning what we've done, it's now, I should have done this, rather than this is what I did and next time I can do that. I should have done this. Now you're rooting yourself in the past again, beating yourself up for the choice that you made for what you did. Or I could have done that. Now, instead of being in the moment, you start projecting yourself forward as to how this is not enough and next time could be better. Or I would have done that. Well, then why didn't you? Again, taking ourselves out of that personal responsibility. Let's see. Did I do mental filter, you guys? No? Okay. Mental filter. This is when we filter information that is being presented to us and we hear what we want to hear rather than what is being presented. So in a simple case, you know, if someone were to say, wow, okay, and sorry, Bryant, this is a girl perspective, okay? This is like, wow, you look really great in that dress. Oh my God, what do you mean? Like, do I normally look terrible? What do you mean I look good in this dress? What are you trying to say to me? Are you trying to pick me up? We filter. We hear what we want to hear rather than someone simply saying, you look great in that dress. Thank you. So my question for you guys, is when someone pays you a compliment, do you stop? I don't care if it's the guy, the guy on the street, the woman at the grocery store, or whoever. When someone pays you a compliment, do you stop and look at them and say, thank you? Or do you go, yeah, uh-huh. Oh, it's old. Yeah, haha, whatever. What do you do? Where are you with people? Are you listening to what people say to you? Does it matter if they have an ulterior motive? Honestly, does it matter? Unless, of course, they're leading you down an alleyway, then I would think twice. It's kind of funny. I got to tell you guys, I've been all over the world, and I've been in a lot of predicaments and met a lot of people. I have never felt threatened. I have never had concern. And I have had people say bizarre things to me, and I have always looked at them straight in the face and said, thank you. And they're all looked back at me and like, wow. Because what is the one thing in life that we want? We want to be acknowledged. We want to be heard and listened to. We want to be respected, okay? And it's not just for others, it's for ourselves. So as I like to say, you can't love others until you love yourself. You can't respect others until you respect yourself. To truly understand the meaning of the life experience, you got to be there with it for yourself first, and then you really get it for other people and you can share it with other people. All right. Okay. Did I go through all of those, you guys? Was there anything missing? I have all of them. Oh, personalization. Did I do personalization? No idea? All right. Huh?
I feel like you did, but I don't actually think you did.
Okay, personalization, you guys, is actually really similar to emotional reasoning. Personalization is just a slightly different. I mean, in emotional reasoning, it's like you're justifying, like, I'm bad, this didn't work out, so it must be my fault. Whereas personalization is when you take things on, all right, that other people did. So for example, if, well, okay. This would be like my grandfather-in-law. We used to go out to dinner, and he would always stiff the staff on their tips. And it was a horrifying experience for me. And I would take it on and I would personalize it, in the sense that, oh my gosh, he's this way, and this is all my fault. I should have money on hand. I should be ready to cover this. This is my fault. I'm the one who should be responsible for making sure the person gets tipped, because I know he's that way. And that's personalization. That's me taking it on as a burden, okay, for who he was, the way he was, rather than my just, without having any drama, having, being like, okay, I'm going out with Papa tonight for dinner. Yeah, I think I'll have some ones with me and be prepared. So the personalization is we start to create drama and we negate ourselves. Okay. Now I think I really did go through all of them. All right, where are you guys at with all this? What are you thinking? You experienced this? Have you seen it? Have you heard it? Does it seem foreign? Jackie, what do you think? What's going on for you? And Jacqueline, is it okay I call you Jackie? Are you still there? You guys, I'm a little traumatized ever since, what was it, during the beginning of COVID, I watched students fall asleep during my lectures.
Hi, sorry, I had to plug in my headset into the laptop because it's kind of like iffy.
Oh, it's okay. I'm really good at making a story on what happened.
Yeah, I thought I was talking, but it was still muted. So sorry about that. But
No.
yeah, I have experienced like just the negativity, self doubting, like the emotional reasoning,
Yeah,
like justifying it in my head, and it's just negativity. Like I've done that a lot of times.
right. And the thing is, you're going to find guys, is that it's like a virus. Kind of think about, Jackie, it's like a virus that when we start getting negative, the negativity grows and it gets bigger and bigger, and we start to be negative about more things around us. When we're around negative people who keep speaking negative, we tend to pick up on it again, like a virus. So, Jackie, what I encourage you to do is listen to your language and slow down, pause, and ask yourself, as something, this is why, Bernice, we had that assignment on the think part, is to slow down and figure out, what are the things that trigger me? Did something happen today that triggered me? Do I not have enough sleep and I'm really tired? Is my nutrition off? Maybe I'm not getting a good balance of nutrients, because that does impact mental health. Am I dehydrated and not thinking clearly? Do I have a stressor that's upsetting me and I need to slow down? All right. We want to check in with ourselves, folks, because for us to really be empowered by ourselves, to not depend on others, but to truly empower ourselves, to recognize how amazing we are, how we have the ability to accomplish anything. There are no limitations. Honestly, limitations are going to be things like, you're locked up in prison and you're missing a spoon to carve your way out. But we know through history, people have accomplished that. So we really only limit ourselves in the end. And I think, there have been a few movies, interestingly, that have dealt on this. The idea that, like, for example, whether you're incarcerated because of war or prison or honestly, in terms of genocide, the mental health becomes the thing that either keeps you alive or really leads to your own doom. No matter what people do to your body, it's your mind is the one free spirit. And it is in the end what determines life or death. Okay. That's why when I talk about things like seniors, why it's so important for us to maintain our health and well-being. Because more often than not, when people go to nursing homes, other than New York City, of course, but when people go to nursing homes, what happens is that depression starts to come into play, and the depression interferes with their ability to feel comfortable and confident and communicative and interactive in life. And when we don't have those aspects of living and expressing who we are and participating with others, then where's the living in life? And that's where we get in trouble. So that's why I'm focusing on these, because I want us to have the opportunity to reinforce ourselves, to be powerful, to be amazing. And the more amazing we are, the more dynamic we are, the more possibility we become for others also, because this is when we really become leaders. Not to lead people off the cliff, but to lead them into the realm of possibility of what we can accomplish. Okay. All right. How are we doing on time? That's it, folks. And I'm only 3 minutes late. That was fantastic. Such good timing. Fabulous. Truly fabulous. All right, let's see. Once we finish this mental health section, folks, we are going to actually start the weight management section, which is a really, it's going to focus more on tools, and you're going to start to notice more and more. I mean, it's been true from the get-go that everything, folks, is like a woven piece of fabric. You're going to see all of these constantly come up over and over again because they all come into play with each other. Their life is never linear. Life is truly very beautiful and very complex. And depending, it's like a prism sometimes, because depending on the angle, you're going to see the relevance of some things more than others. But then if you shift, you're going to see another aspect, but everything comes into play. All right. So by the end of this, you're all going to be pros. Absolutely fabulous. And you'll be leading others. And that's my goal. All right, you guys have an absolutely fantastic, amazing, and awesome weekend. And I'm gonna look forward to seeing you next week. If you have anything else that you want to talk about, stick around, stay with me, but otherwise be free, be amazing. And until next time.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Alexa, I did not know you were there. I am so sorry. How long have you been there?
I've been here the whole Zoom class.
Oh my God. You know how, I don't know if you guys know this, but on my Zoom, it's like got this long banner and then there's a little arrow at the bottom and you must have been beyond the arrow. I am so sorry. I have been calling on you constantly. Alexa, I am honestly, I will be more diligent on checking that little arrow to see if there's someone's beyond there. I am so sorry.
You're all good.
Did you find value in the conversation?
Yes, of course. I find mental health really important. So I like this conversation that you had.
Okay. Yay! I'm sorry, girlfriend. I'm glad
You're all good.
Thank you.
No problem. Have a good weekend. Bye, Julie.
You too. Bye.